So, hi everybody, I'm Jessie Ludenguth. I am the chair of the Combined Judges Committee. So I am your fearless leader. And I am here at Ryman Gardens in Iowa. So I think we talk about this a little bit later, but you'll all be coming to see me this summer. So we just wanted to have this meeting to start talking about what all we're going to be looking for this year. There's a couple things to talk about. Diane's put that on the slide. So we want to start thinking about, is it time to start considering if we need to have comparison varieties? We had some issues come up this year, as we do every year, trying to source comparison material. And sometimes, you know, we run into a lot of things every year that maybe this is time to talk about that kind of stuff. So we will talk about that later. So start thinking about it now. All right, so again, welcome everybody. We're going to talk about the mentor program. Jenny's going to tell us all about Mercado, which is our favorite app on our phones. Then we'll go through everything that is being grown for trials this year. We're going to go rapid fire. We decided not to do breakout rooms this year. So we'll go through all of the entries, all of comparisons, and then we just ask that anybody that has big burning questions just stay on the meeting afterwards, and we'll circle around to tackle that kind of stuff. Then Diane will introduce the winners. We'll talk about Summer Summit, and then we have time for questions and answers. And now I'm ready. So hi, new judges. I think. Let's see, I can't see everybody. I'm on a tiny laptop. So if you're new, hello, welcome. Good to see there's some faces. There's some more faces. Oh, I saw a wave. There's Jenny Kuhn. There's Rachel. Hello. Hi guys. Okay, sorry. So at any point, if you have questions, it's always good to check the website. And I don't know if my job is to tell you that, you know, we have our judges resource. The login is AAS 2016. And then that's where all of your trial entry stuff is. That's where all your Mercado training materials that we put together a couple years ago are, all that kind of stuff. Then you can always reach out to Jenny, who is great at responding to emails. So if you ever have questions, she's there for you. Next. If you do have questions, either as a new judge or even as an experienced judge, we've put together a list of folks that have been judging for years, or at least have their heads on their shoulders. And you can reach out to any of them. You can see what their specialities might be behind their names. And again, you can always email Jenny and Diane in the office, and they can forward you on to one of us for questions. So if you have questions, be sure to ask. I think we also talked a little bit about maybe sending this out as an email as well, like as kind of a welcome package too. And I know you guys don't know what you don't know till you realize you don't know it. So no, I don't think my feelings won't be hurt if you don't reach out to me until 3 days before the due date and say, oh, I didn't realize that I had this question, because that's when it really starts. So ask questions. All right.
Time for Jenny.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I wanted to let any new judge know that if you weren't able to make the Mercado training that we had last week, I am happy to one-on-one walk through any questions about Mercado and using the app. We did make a change this year. Last year, we just had interim rounds for every trial and then a final round where we asked for your final score. We can go on to the next slide, Diane, and we've added a new date outdoors round. For each trial, we're asking you to enter the date that you planted outdoors or moved your container outdoors. And if there are any comments you want to add, you can go ahead and do that as well. Once you've entered the planting outdoors date, you don't have to access that observation round anymore. You will then go to the next slide and you'll see the interim rounds have stayed the same as last year. We're asking for the strengths and weaknesses versus the comparison. So in that first text box, we really appreciate any information you can give us on how the entry is in regards to the comparisons. Any other judge comments you want to add, and then your interim score. And the interim score, we're really looking for on that day, what do you think, how do you think the entry is performing? And then in August or earlier, if you need it earlier, we will publish the final round. And in the final round, we ask you, does this entry deserve an AAS award? Does it deserve a gold medal award? Add your comments. And here we'd like your overall comments on the entry as a whole. And then the final score, which you'll see are the same numbers 1 through 5 that you had for the interim scores. And then you also have some more options: trial failure, not adapted to my climate, human error, or L to be reported later. So you can choose one of those. We do ask, if it is a trial failure or human error, could you please explain that in the judge comments so we know kind of what's going on? All very valuable information for the entering breeders.
And Jenny, what we put
yes.
in red on each one of these slides was about please think. Please
yes.
think. That
Sync.
is the number one issue that we have found everybody is running into, is they may think they have their scores in, but if they haven't synced, they're not going to show up.
Right. And the nice thing about the Mercado app, especially for new users, you do not need internet connection to use the app out in the field. When you open the app, every time, if you open it with a Wi-Fi or internet connection and you hit the sync button in the top right corner, the download sync button, you'll have the latest information about the trials. And when you go out in the field, you do not need a connection. You record all your information. And then when you do have internet access, that's when you can hit your sync to upload it to the back end of Mercado for us to be able to see. We do have some Mercado super users who can help with specific questions. You can always contact me and I can try to help. Jesse is an Android user. I know there are a couple of Android users that I don't have any access to an Android phone here, so I don't know the subtle differences on the screens, but Jesse is great at using it, so she can help. And then Kristen, Rachel, and Denise are all great users as well. One more thing about Mercado, we love pictures. We found them very helpful last year, especially in cases where sometimes the entry and the comparison might have been mislabeled. And when we see the pictures coming in throughout the year, it's very helpful for us. I think that's it about Mercado.
All right, so now we're going to move into the actual entries along with the comparisons. And Jesse, I believe you are taking the edible portion to start off with.
Yes, sorry, I'm still snooping around to try to figure out how to turn on closed captions. So sorry, Scott, we're working on it. Entry 1 is a jalapeno. It is determinate early. We're comparing yield, uniformity of fruits, and the habit of the plant should be strong and compact. Next. We also have habanero. Traits to judge are no cracking or crack resistant, thick walls, a better shelf life, also some good disease tolerance, and an earlier harvest date. Next. Broccoli, yum. A sweet stem broccoli should be easy to grow, especially in a warm season. So I'm hoping that means a later to bolt situation there. Next. Watermelon, we've got a color contrast between the fruit and the rind. The flesh should be crispy and sweet. And of course, as always, all edibles should taste good. If they meet all of the other criteria in disease resistance, early harvest, all that kind of stuff, but they taste like garbage, let's say boo to that, because we don't want to award gross tasting vegetables or fruits. So this isn't.
Jessie, sorry, I was just going to point out that at the bottom of each slide, we put in why that variety was chosen as a comparison. And FYI, we are going to save this PowerPoint to the judges login area on the website.
Yeah, so this deck will be available and you can look through it as well. So early mature, so the corn, great pest defenses. They had some really good information on the packet about growing organically and how they want that planted out. So they want to check for pest presence and they suggest doing multiple plantings. This melon has a unique skin color and pattern, orange internal flesh, and of course flavor. Duh. Next. We've got a kaboka squash. This one has a unique color. Also, there's an intermediate size for smaller households. We all know that personal size fruit is really on trend right now. Good flavor and then also good storage life. We've got beet. So this is just for Sam. Beautiful exterior with a bright white interior, good color hold, a good flavor, and good garden performance. We have a butterkin squash, so similar to pumpkins as well. So we're looking at yield, both edible and ornamental properties. Vigorous plants, sweet flesh, delicious, a good storage. And it says a range of sizes. So I'm interested in what that means. To me, that means non-uniformity, but we'll see. So then tomatoes, here we've got an indeterminate cherry. This one should have a good shelf life, superior flavor. So I'm looking forward to that. A unique color, that disease resistance package. So we're looking at plant health and fruit quality both. This slicer should, again, have that pest and disease package, as well as good texture and flavor. We have a second broccoli. This one will have a taller stem for harvest ease and should have more edible stems. So eat all of your vegetables, folks. This cauliflower does not need to be wrapped and is yellowing resistance. The spinach should have a unique, consistent leaf style, strong disease package, and good hardiness and uniformity. We have a second jalapeno. This one should be judged in red stage, it looks like. So you should be comparing color to Flaming Flare, and then looking for uniformity. And you know what? I should have gone back and looked and seen if they meant uniformity in plants or fruits, but let's say both. And then also good flavor. We have a mini pepper. So this one should be at full color stage evaluation. So make sure that you're looking for that. It should have a low susceptibility to stippling. So that weird color modeling or spotting. So good taste, appearance, and yield. We have a mini bell. So you're judging that on the fruit size. It is a true bell shape, but will be mini. So it won't have that, what I call picnic pepper look to it. It should be an honest bell. The plants will be compact. The flavor should be good. Aroma tomato, indeterminate, and it looks like there are no traits to judge, so you just grow that for your own pleasure. I missed that one too.
Oh, busted. Sorry, missed that one. We will add that in before we upload it to the website.
I'm looking on the slide, you know, the comparisons have that good disease package, so I'm assuming that that's part of it too, that this one would be maybe just an indeterminate, not version, but an indeterminate aroma. So that's my guess. So we've got a pea, which this, I had to Google it. This Aphila vine is a type that should be self-supporting. so you can see in the masterpiece comparison that really tangly looking stuff. So it should not need to be trellised on, you shouldn't have to do any work on that. A slender pod with high yields, easy to pick, probably because it should be growing itself up a something. We have a winter squash, so we're looking at the disease resistance package on this. So plant health. They say the texture and the flavor are sweet and rich and smooth, and this would be another one of those personal sized fruits. We've got a bush bean. This should be an upright plant with high yield, slender pods, low fiber, so delicious and not so stringy.
And now we'll go through the edible containers, which are basically some of the same entries duplicated in the container trial.
So the jalapeno one, what's nice about all of these containers, I think, is that there's only one comparison for each. So that kind of reduces down what you've got to grow out in your containers. So again, jalapeno is early. The habanero is that crack resistance and those thick walls. The broccoli is that taller stem. So it's that second entry that we talked about with the edible stems. The cauliflower, again, does not need to be wrapped. Spinach should be uniform, disease resistant, hardy. The second jalapeno is, again, that red entry. So you're looking for time to red. And then there is a mini orange. So this one would be the picnic pepper shape instead of that bell pepper shape, but it should still have that, that resistance to the color spec. Oh, sorry. Nope. My brain, peppers. So then this is the mini bell here.
And this is the only one that's unique and not in the in-ground.
And so then there's a small tomato. I forgot what fruits are anymore. So plant height, ease of harvest.
Okay. And now we are going to go to Jenny, who's going to do the ornamentals.
Okay, so the first entry is a Snapdragon, and it is going to be judged for the double flowers and that it is a semi-tall variety. So we've chosen the Liberty Classic Bronze because it's the industry standard, but it is not a double. And then the Twinny Mix because it is a double. Next, we have the Celosia. This entry is unique in that it has the flower on the head and along the stem. So we do not have a comparison that has the flowers along the stem. So just be aware of that. Next, we have a zinnia, a double, and we've chosen the comparisons because they are just the AAS winner and color and size. The entry should have a high degree of doubleness. And the first marigold, uniformity, the deep gold color, full blooms held high. And we've chosen those comparisons for the color and the height. Then we've got a second marigold. It is numbered number 3. There is not a number 2 in the trial. That one got pulled just so it doesn't confuse anyone. You're not missing something. This is more of a mid-size for the landscape marigold with large blooms and uniform height. And then we have a nasturtium. This one you are judging because it is a unique new red color for a compact nasturtium with dark foliage. So the baby rose will have the same kind of habit, but a different color. And then the Empress of India for the dark green foliage.
And one of the things, sorry, Jenny, that I wanted to interject here that some judges that have been with us for a while might have noticed that our naming has gone very generic now. We used to might say something like nasturtium compact or Snapdragon with a color after it. And we're trying to be very, very generic now. That's why you're going to see like broccoli number 1 and broccoli number 2, because sometimes when we tried to add more descriptions, we found that it might have been a hindrance to really describing it, and it might have been leading in some way. So if you notice that, yeah, we have much more generic names on all of our entries now, and we're going to try to continue to do that. So sorry, Jenny, now you can go ahead to the container ones.
Okay, so the container, it's the Snapdragon again, the double flower semi-tall. And we've got a coleus that is not in the in-ground. This is a unique, bright, multicolored foliage and does well in sun. So the sun chocolate was chosen for that. Then we have the nasturtium again, the red color. We're most concerned about this new color for the compact nasturtium. And we have no non-seed in-ground this year.
And are you doing the container, Jenny, or do you want me to?
I think you were doing that, but I
will jump right in then. Yes. So for the non-seed container, we have one entry, which was the colocasia, and we do not have a comparison. As Jesse alluded to early in the meeting, this is one of the two instances where we did not have a comparison. And so it just made us ask that question, which we will discuss toward the end of our meeting. So this one, you are truly judging it on the traits and all the characteristics that the breeder has put forth. So we put all that here. I'm sure a lot of the ornamental judges have had experience growing this plant class before. So you also are expected to pull in your knowledge there. But the traits to judge are here. So it's an earliness of the white center markings, and it has a flamboyant pink and white veining. So that is what you will be judging it on solely. Then I'm going to move into
say something about the non-seed. So the colocasia, because it is a tropical plant, the first shipment was delayed. I think we've hopefully communicated that with everyone through email, and we will keep you updated as to when we have a shipping date for that variety.
Yes, our routing station was a bit concerned about shipping that out in February. Despite we were trying to hit the southern trial sites first, you just never know what might happen in transit. So yeah, that's why that one is delayed. Okay, so then for the perennial trial, and overall there are some shipping delays with the perennial trial as well. So I know some of you might have some of the entries already. You may have some comparisons, but not the entries. So please just keep up to date on Jenny's emails to you. This year's perennial trial is a little bit of a challenge, like everything these days in the industry. We do have shipping and supply issues, but hopefully by the time May, June gets here, we will have everything to all of the judges. So please just bear with us, bear with our breeders. We're all facing the same things. So our first perennial entry is this Iberis. The traits to judge here are the fact that it's grown from seed. You won't be growing it from seed because you're going to be getting the plugs and liners, but it does have uniform germination. It's got a very uniform habit and has really good flower power and coverage. So that's the Iberis. The next one is Gaillardia. The traits to judge here are the bright colored flowers. We're using Sunset Sunrise as our comparison, and it is a comparison chosen for the color of the flowers, not the height. We couldn't find anything in the industry that was already the same height as the entry. Then we have a penstemon. We chose Rock Candy Ruby as the comparison. Another one where we're using this for the flower color, not the height, but you are to judge on the compact habit and the early flowering of this entry. And of course, the magenta colored blooms. Now we have the Sempervivum, entry number 4. This is another one where we do not have a comparison. The key trait here is the large size rosettes and the coloration of the rosettes. You may have some other Sempervivums in your garden that you can choose just as a basis on, hey, I know how this one grows, and so we're going to compare it like that. But truly the uniqueness of this entry is the large size of the rosettes and the coloration there. And then our last entry, so 5 perennial entries this year, is the Heliopsis. and we chose the Punto Rosso as the comparison for its flowering period. It is a similar size, has a similar mounding habit, and is easy to grow. But our perennial entry says it has a longer flowering season. So those are our perennial entries. And like I said, we will address any questions toward the end of this, but I did want to now go through some updates. We have elected one new officer / director to our board. We did this at the board of directors and update meeting out in San Diego the end of January. So she is Rebecca Simonsma from Duman Orange. So we are welcoming her as our new treasurer, who is taking over for Alex Augustiniak, which I saw on the call. Hi, Alex, and thank you for your service as our, there you are, as our treasurer for the past 4 years. And now you have turned it all over to Rebecca. Then we are going to go through, and I'll try to do this quickly, just as a summary and a recap of all of our 2022 AAS winners. We're going to start off with one of our additional gold medal winners. So now we've had 3 in the past 18 months. This is Viking Explorer Rose on Green. So that one, you guys really liked it. So it earned a gold medal. Another winner, this one being a national winner, is the Celosia Orange Flamma. And this one is being distributed by Cicada. So they have worked out an arrangement with Clover Seed. But I know everybody was talking about how amazing the color was on this Celosia. So really excited to see that in all of our display gardens and introduction gardens this year. One of the winners announced last July is Eggplant Icicle from No New Seeds. Also Lettuce Bower from Vitalis Seeds, and Buffy Pepper, which I have to tell you was really fun to write the description on. I kind of took the vampire route on that one. That one also is from No New Seeds. Then we have this Purple Pepper Dragonfly from Bejo Seeds, also a national winner. This next pepper was just announced as a winner. It's Quickfire. It's that hot Thai type pepper. It was the first winner in our container edible trial. So very excited that we're now rolling these things out, that we can really say, hey, they've been tested and trialed in containers. So that's awesome. Another gold medal was Petunia Bee's Knees, which was announced last summer. And then we have this cool sunflower. This is that one that has all the flowers along the stem, called Concert Bell from Tohoku Seed Company. As far as a tomato, we have Pink Delicious from Seminus. That is a regional winner in the Heartland and the Southeast. Our Purple Zebra, which is being used as a comparison already. No rest for this one. It's automatically being put up against some other things in the market. So that's a national winner from AP Whaley Seeds. AP Whaley also has Sunset Torch Tomato, which is a regional winner. For our Terinia, we have 2 regional winners. The Summery Love Pure White is from No New Seeds, and Amera Seeds has Vertigo Deep Blue. And then we have 2 verbenas, 2 different types. A Bonariensis is Vanity from Van Hemert. So that one we just announced. And then we also have a vegetative winner from Selecta, which is Beets Purple plus White. And Century Star Watermelon we announced last July, but it's still a 2022 winner. And that's from Chia Tai Seed Company. And last but not least is Zinnia Queenie, sister to Lime Orange. This one is Lemon Peach, and that is from Floragran. And okay, so that is our 18 2022 AAS winners, which are all live on the website, are all available for ordering. So thank you so much to our judges. Without you, we wouldn't have winners. So now, Jesse, we will lob it back over to you to talk about Summer Summit.
Great. So Summer Summit, yes, is here in Central Iowa this summer. So the dates on that are receptions August 2nd. So that's the Tuesday afternoon, evening time, check-in, flights, all that kind of stuff. So our meetings are the 3rd and the 4th. We have some super cool things happening. I'm really excited, guys. Like, we've got some really neat tours coming up, including what I think is going to be super awesome and sounds boring probably to non-plant geeks is we're going to get to tour the seed testing lab at Iowa State University, which is one of the places that we recommend our breeders send their seeds in that need to be tested. So I've been on this tour. It is so cool, but maybe I'm just like a super dork. That's also possible as well. So get signed up for that. The registration is live. And we hope that this is going to be a really well attended event. I know the Des Moines airport is not the most amazing airport you're ever going to fly into, but there are also plenty of other airports, larger airports if you don't mind driving a little ways. I don't know that there's that many direct flights except for maybe Chicago, but it seems like even when I try to fly to Chicago, I fly through Minneapolis for some reason and then Minneapolis to Chicago. So I don't know.
So pick and choose. There's certainly a number of ways to get there. And yeah, I have to tell everybody, Jesse's very excited. I think she's going to put on a wonderful event. Too bad we can't spend both days in Ames, but we kind of have to split things up. So a day in Des Moines, a day in Ames. Like Jesse said, we're going to see a lot of cool things. I think that World Food Prize is going to be very interesting. We're trying to get into Meredith, Better Homes and Gardens, get a tour of their offices at a minimum of their gardens. So that will be cool. But the main thing is we haven't seen each other in 2 years. So it'd be really wonderful to get a chance to see everybody. All judges are invited. If you can't attend and would like your assistants to attend, that's wonderful. Display gardens are invited. And we're also doing this with the Home Garden Seed Association for the first time since New York, I believe. So it'll be a good opportunity for us to have a big group together. But yes, it's live on our website. You can register, you can book your hotel. Everything's ready. So now all we have to do is finalize the plans.
Well, and so the other thing to think about before you finalize your travel plans, we will definitely create a couple of extend your stay options as well. And I'm trying to think about a couple options for all of like the other surrounding airports. So if you'd rather fly into Omaha, we'll put up a couple suggestions for that. That's a 2.5-hour drive. If you'd rather fly into Chicago and maybe carpool with all the Chicago people, the Plant Peddler trial days in Cresco are that Friday. So I think that a lot of Chicago folks plan on hitting that up on their way back home. So we'll have a lot of good options for other things you can do in case you're interested in making Iowa your big summer vacation. The state fair is the week after. So if you have never seen the butter cow, I mean, that's quintessential Iowa.
I think we need to have our own butter cow carving contest of some sort.
They reuse the butter from year to year. Oh. So I'm sorry that I just told you guys that because that probably ruined it for everybody. But
yeah, it did. Okay, looks like we have plenty of time for questions. So let's start. I've muted everybody just so that it was a little bit quieter when we were going through everything. But I would love to hear your input. The board would like to hear your input on this question. Gut tells me that it may be a difference of opinion for different trials. So if you have an opinion or questions, just unmute yourself and speak up. Jesse, do you have anything to add to that? You're still muted, Jesse.
I'm trying to be a good friend. So yeah, I think that the reason that we're bringing this up is because we did have some trouble sourcing some of those comparisons. And one of the discussions that we had, I think on our combined judges committee meeting was talking about, did we want to provide everybody with the information of what comparisons we would have selected if we had been able to receive them? And would the problem, and the reason that we decided not to do that was because by Googling, Colocasia mojito, you would have seen only the perfect pictures of what that plant should have been. And you wouldn't maybe be able to directly compare the performance of both of those plants in your garden to be able to clock whether the the plant was having the performance issue or whether it was some sort of other garden type issue. So then that leads us to ask, do we need to limit the comparisons or remove them entirely, like in terms of space saving, reduced inputs that reduces a lot of the seed starting that you guys would have to do in the summer or in the spring. But do you like having those comparisons to know what's going on? So we're opening up to the judges to see what they want to do.
Well, I think from my perspective, it's important to have comparisons when the breeder is coming through and saying, this is better than what's already on the market. I mean, I think that's kind of crucial and encompasses and embodies what AAS is all about. It's about, new genetics and improvements and things that are better. So I don't think we can, in my opinion, I don't think we can eliminate comparison varieties because not everybody is familiar with maybe what is already on the market. And if you don't have that side by side grown under the same conditions kind of thing going on, then how do you judge something?
I agree. As an ex-breeder, you have to have a comparison variety. Otherwise, you don't know what you're looking at. And also for the new judges, I think they need them.
Here's one other thing we had discussed as well or brought up is what if instead of growing, so let's say, I'll pick on tomatoes just because we always have so many in the trials. So if you have 6 different entries in a tomato, could you pick maybe 1 or 2 representatives of whatever class you're growing? So instead of each cherry tomato, and I think the comparison committee has done a really good job of starting to kind of do that. But if you only have, if you have 5 cherry tomato entries, does each cherry tomato need its own set of comparisons, or could you just have one again, for that kind of
I agree with that. I think that's a great idea because they take up a lot of space and you have to stake them and the whole deal.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're already doing that. I mean, I'm a first-year judge, but I noticed like with the jalapeno peppers, you have the same comparison for I think there are 2 jalapenos in the in-ground and 1 in the container, and 2 of the in-grounds, they have one of the comparisons are the same between the 2, and it's the same for the container. So that does, so at least out in the field, it will save some. Obviously, you'll have to still put in the container, but I think that's a great idea to, you don't have to have Emerald Fire is repeated a number of times as the comparison. So I think that's an excellent idea because it does save a little bit of room for the transplanting, growing transplants if you don't have to, I don't have to do it twice. So.
I think the fundamental issue is the validity of the trials, and comparisons are required for a trial to have validity.
Yeah. And you need to have it too, the comparisons, because the weather can be different every year. I know what a good head of broccoli. I've done broccoli trials for 30 years, and I know what a good head of broccoli, but the weather can stink. And so the broccoli head might not be as great, but if you have the comparison to compare it with, then, then you can see that it's not a great year to growing broccoli, so you need something to compare it with. I feel that pretty strongly. So.
And what about the option of moving to 1 comparison instead of 2? I think in some cases, 1 comparison might be sufficient. In other comparisons, like the Snapdragon, I think is a good example. We don't have a Snapdragon just like that. And so we had to choose 1 that was a double and 1 that is an industry standard. So we kind of had to have 2 comparisons for the Snapdragon. But then like the Celosia, there is nothing like it. So in this case, we probably could have gotten by with just 1 comparison.
I think some of it has to do with how many different traits you're comparing as well. If, especially with the edibles, if you're dealing with both the color on the outside of the fruit and the taste, or the disease-resistant package and something else, you might need a couple of them because something else might not have all those individual traits. So if you have two comparisons, both for flavor, but one for the, the external color, maybe one for the disease-resistant package or habit or yield or whatever it would be, it could be beneficial to have more than one if you're looking at more than one trait.
I agree with that one. That was my concern when it was mentioned that that we have only one comparison, like the cherry tomato as an example.
So the directions that we could give the comparison committees, and I'm kind of speaking off the cuff here, just thinking this through, is we could say, pick two comparisons, but when it comes down to it, if both comparisons are very, very similar, then you can choose just one. And we won't give any kind of quotas, just saying you are allowed to pick two for each entry, but if the two comparisons are so similar that it doesn't really make a difference, then we can choose just one.
Yeah.
And let that be up to the comparison committee people and chairman to decide.
And I do think it's a very good idea to double your comparisons, like with the Emerald Fire, where possible.
Yes. Yeah. If possible. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we have our answer on that, Jesse. So I think now we have like 13 minutes, and we are happy to stay on here to answer any other questions about this year's trial, specific entries, Mercado. I saw some questions coming in earlier that I wasn't able to get to with Mercado. It was really about that planting. So if it's direct sow, we want the date that it goes in the ground. That's the planting date. If you're in a container trial and you're keeping it indoors, it's the time that you put it outdoors. If it's a perennial, it's the time that it's planted in ground. If it's a transplant, it's the date that it's planted in ground. So I think those were the main questions that we had there about that planting date, right? Okay. Any other questions? We also have some members from our board of directors on. Let's see here. It looks like somebody, Scott Evans. Okay, Scott, if you're having some issues, I would directly work with Jenny Boxell on that. She will be able to help you in, what do they call it? 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. That's good. Any new judges have any time? I mean, have any questions, not time.
Can I just say, back to Mercado real quick, I'm happy to help anyone. The getting rid of your old trials might take a few tries. There is, I think I did send out instructions for that, and they're also on the website. But if you're still having issues, I'm happy to try to walk through them with you one-on-one. And also just the importance of the comments. The scores that you give are great, but as much feedback as possible is really appreciated. It helps us with the social media and marketing of it once it becomes a winner. And it's also really valuable for the entering breeders. And we want to encourage them to keep entering stuff. So the more feedback we give, the happier they are.
Jenny, last year when that was my first time I used Mercado, but at the very end when you were doing the final marking, my trials finish at all different times. And let's say I had one crop that finished 2 weeks earlier and I just wanted to get it out of the way so I don't have to look at it again. And then other crops. So I was really kind of confused. Is there more flexibility? Because it seemed like you had to go in and make the decision all at one time to mark it as final. But, 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I've forgotten what I was looking at 2 weeks, like, what's my final decision here? So is there any way that Mercado would allow us to make a final decision independent of the other crops that you're evaluating?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question exactly.
Okay. So let's say that there's lettuce out there and it finished really early and I want to make a final judgment on that lettuce and I want to do it today. I don't want to wait 3 weeks when we got to put our things. But when you sink it, it messes, seems like it messes everything else. So is it possible to make final judgments on different crops at different times and do the final sink so that it goes up to wherever it goes, the cloud?
Right. So I think there's a couple issues there. First of all, the final, if your lettuce is done before I've published the final observation round and you want to go in and put in your final score, I can publish the final round to just you if you're ready earlier than other people in the trial. The reason we hold off on doing the final round until maybe August is only because we don't want it cluttering up your phone or your tablet and then you accidentally entering observations into that final round that should be actually interim. Because you see, we do ask for different questions on the final round versus the interim. Once you have the final round, you don't have to put your final scores all on one day. There's a couple, you can do multiple visits or just keep going back to the same visit date and entering your final score for that trial, if that makes sense. When you're opening the trial and you open a visit date, you can go back in time and go to a previously created visit, if that would help keep everything streamlined.
But Jenny, last year you did. I think there was a Southern judge who was kind of in the same boat. Janine was wanting to enter some of it. So we did have to make that final round live, which is going to mean that it's on your phone at the same time when you're doing those interims. So it's just a matter of Jenny can do it and she can do it individually by judge. If you do need some information, we can't make it live by entry. We can only do it by the entire trial. So like in your case, the entire edible trial, we would have to make the final live. And then you're just going to have to make sure that you're putting the final in the final and the interim in the interim.
Okay. So is there a way that when you make a final that it indicates on the screen when you're scrolling through all those trials that you've already completed this one? Because right now you have to open it up to see if you filled it out. So if there were a way to check it off that, okay, this one's done, I don't need to scroll, I can scroll right past it without having to open it up to see if I made a decision or not.
I don't think there is a way to do that. I think you have to go in. And like I said, if for the final round, if you just put in a date of like August 31st, like it doesn't matter what day you're actually scoring it, but so let's say you just create the visit date of August 31st. So you only have one visit date in that final round. When you open it up, if there's a score already in there, then you can swipe to the next one, assuming that you've already made that decision. But I don't think there's a way for Mercado to tell you without opening it that you've already entered information.
Yeah, we can certainly ask Mercado, but I think we kind of went there already with them and there just wasn't a way to customize it that much.
It seems awfully weird because it's such a waste of time having to open things all the time that you've already done. So
yeah,
it seems to me that there's a way to do that.
We'll circle back with them again, because they're continually making updates based on what everybody's input is. So we'll ask again if there's a way to do it. It seems like there should be a checkbox like, okay, are you finished? Okay, finished, and then take it off. But knowing how the back end works of Mercado, I'm not sure it has that capability.
Okay.
So we'll keep checking. We'll keep bugging.
Jenny, Sam wants to know, is there any way to look back at previous Mercado observations from past seasons?
So I don't know how, once you take them off your phone, that I don't think you would be able to access those. If you leave them on your phone, I'm assuming you could look back. I'm not.
Jenny, what about the share
that.
data? That portal.
Right. I don't know once it's the trial is closed. I don't know if the share data is still open. I can ask that.
Yeah, we will find out, Sam.
I'm not sure how many judges used that shared data portal. So if anyone wants to let me know if they did use it, if they found it helpful. The shared data portal is so that you can go back. There was a question of if you're entering 6 or 7 different interim observation dates and you want to go back and look at, well, what did you think of this broccoli and all 6 or 7 dates? Instead of having to go into each date individually, there is a way to download an Excel spreadsheet and the shared data portal that will show you how you did your interim scores for each variety. So I don't know if that was widely used or liked, but that is available.
That was useful, using that portal to see the previous scores. I know I used that before I did my final score. But how about pictures? Because it seems like if I take pictures and upload them, they kind of disappear, versus if I take them on my phone and then upload them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is there a way we can look at the pictures we've taken also?
I'm not sure about you looking at pictures. Can you see them on shared data, Jenny?
I can say I saw them on the shared data.
Okay.
When I went back and looked.
Yeah, I didn't see them there. And I think Jenny and I talked about not being able to do it last year. Anyway, maybe later in the season, you can show me how to do it.
And I will say that those photos were extremely valuable to us as well as to the breeders. There were certain things that I was able to send back to the breeders, especially if it didn't win, then they kind of understood what the judges were seeing in the garden. There were a couple instances of some comparisons and entries getting accidentally mixed up. By looking at those photos, we were able to identify that. And we went back to the judges and said, now, wait, this is different than what everybody else is seeing. And they were able to track back, and it was pretty obvious, like in the case of the sunflower, realized that they had switched the comparison and the entry. So that is one thing that we have found very, very helpful by using Mercado. The other thing is our new scoring. Last year, I was more confident than I have been in 12 years that you guys were truly saying this is good, this is not good, because we were able to cross-reference your comments, your numerical score, and then that field where we say, should it be an AAS winner or should it be a gold medal winner? In some cases it's easy to tap the wrong thing on your phone. So in some cases, somebody said, no, it should not be an AAS winner, but they gave it a 5. And then their comments were all raving about it. And so in rare instances, it didn't happen very often, but I'm telling you, from looking at the scores this year, we are really, really confident that we're putting through the things that should have been put through as AAS winners, because we have like a triple check now. So thank you to everybody for doing that. It's been a huge help and just a real confidence booster that, what the judges mean to say is actually what is getting said and reported.
Yeah, it shaved a ton of time off of that meeting for us, because normally there's like a lot of back and forth about who meant what, and boy, yeah, that was the fastest meeting I've ever been in. All right, well, it is noon, so if anybody else has questions, I would always recommend emailing Jenny. She's very responsive. And she can definitely send you to whoever needs to answer your question. I'm going to keep working on making a really fun summer summit. Maybe we'll do like a sweet corn eating contest or something. I don't know.
American dream.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to find somebody else to grow it. I don't have that kind of space. But But otherwise, thank you all for coming. I appreciated seeing everybody's faces. It was just nice to see humans and hopefully see each other in person in a couple months.
Yes, I echo that. Thank you, everybody. I will have the PowerPoint and video recording up on the website, hopefully by the end of today. So thank you so much.